Welcome. In this video, we're going to be talking about the Black Swan system designed by Hermann Luttmann. The Black Swan system is used in A Most Fearful Sacrifice and will also be used in the up-and-coming The Rock of Chickamauga. In this video, we're going to talk about what the Black Swan system is, we're going to talk about where it came from, which is the blind sword system, and we're going to talk about the differences between the Black Swan system and the blind sword system. Thanks again for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Fearful Sacrifice uses the Black Swan system. The Black Swan system is a system closely related to the blind sword system. If you're familiar with Tiny Battle Publishing's A Devil's to Pay, which chronicles the first day of Gettysburg, you'll be familiar with the blind sword system. The Black Swan system was designed by Hermann Luttmann to be able to take on the task of playing the 3 days of Gettysburg, which is the battle on a much larger scale. The Black Swan system evolves the blind sword system by being able to take on this task of chronicling the 3 days of Gettysburg, all while keeping the playtime reasonable and also the rules overhead very low. This is accomplished by using cards instead of the chip pull system, and also by activating units at the core level, although players will also need to determine which divisions get activation priority. Though the Black Swan system is at a much grander scale, it still maintains a tactical feel. And it puts a lot of emphasis on the 3 FOWs of war: fortunes of war, fogs of war, and friction of war. Players will be challenged to deal with a constantly changing battle situation. They're never quite sure what the gods of war will throw at them. Players must be prepared to always deal with Black Swan events. Now I want to delve into the differences between the blind sword system and the Black Swan system. I'm going to be referencing rules, page numbers in A Most Fearful Sacrifice. So if you already own this game, you can pull out your rulebook and follow along with me. Or if you don't, you're welcome to download the PDF available on our website on the Most Fearful Sacrifice webpage. I'll link this in the description below. Our first difference is on page 7 in the rulebook. This talks about step 3 of the sequence of play. This is the preliminary bombardment phase. This is a difference between the blind sword system in that artillery does not have a special activation phase. This happens in the preliminary bombardment phase. Continued on page 11 is an explanation of why there is not a special artillery activation phase, but that it is part of the preliminary bombardment phase. Hermann also talks about that this change rewards players for proper planning when in regards to artillery. This is a new artillery mechanic. Artillery are now activated with a brigade or division, not during a special artillery phase. Hermann Luttmann has some more reasoning behind this on page 11 in one of the highlighted blurbs on the right side of the page, if you would like to read into why he made this decision. Artillery can only do one of 3 actions during an activation, which is either move, fire, or rally. And because of this preliminary bombardment phase instead of a special artillery phase, and because of these choices in the Black Swan system, players have to spend much more time carefully planning so that they can best utilize their artillery. The next big difference between blind swords and Black Swan can be found on page 8 of the rules, and this is in regards to default events. A default event is when a player draws an event card and they cannot play it at the time, they have no use for it, or they will not play it in the future, whether it is a play immediately event card or it is a hold card. The player may then choose to use the card as a default event. If a player chooses to use this event card as a default event, they may activate 1 unit on the board or entering the map, and they may use the minimum movement or they may fire. They cannot use it for assault combat. An important aspect of default events is that you have to choose to do this immediately. You cannot hold on to the card and then choose to play it at the end of the game turn. You must declare that you are doing this as soon as you draw the card. Our next difference can be found on page 11. Veteran blind swords players are urged to take note that the attack order movement rate has increased from 4 MP to 5 MP. Our next difference is on page 14. Veteran blind swords players should take note that there are no lead units in this game. All fire combat results are applied to all units within that hex, and every unit will make their own roll for a cohesion rating that is specific to that unit. Our next difference is kind of a fun, chaotic one. It is also on page 14. It is Rule 7C, and this is about the doubles mechanic. So when you are rolling to resolve fire combat, If you roll a double on the black and the white die, so if you get a 2-2 or a 3-3, etc., you will have to refer to a combat events results table. Hermann Luttmann does mention that players can omit the doubles rule for simplicity's sake, and they can take the results of a doubles die roll as any other result would be and not use the doubles mechanic. The last difference here is really just a reiteration of a previous one, but I did want to bring it to everyone's attention, especially those of you who have played the doubles to pay. So on page 19, Hermann Luttmann reminds us that the lead unit is not an aspect of the Black Swan system and that this will affect assault combat. So if you are used to the assault combat rules from the doubles to pay, please pay attention to the rules on page 19 to make sure you haven't forgotten something or seen a small change between these two systems. To hear what designer Hermann Luttmann has to say about designing the Black Swan system, check out the designer notes on page 31 of the rulebook. Thanks again for watching this video. We're going to have a lot more coming out in the Most Fearful Sacrifice series and also some videos coming out about the Rock of Chickamauga. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks again for watching.